Before we get into the video, I would just like to say thank you to Star Trek Deep Space Nine for sponsoring the video. If you wish to support me and are looking for maybe another game to play that somehow, space theme, maybe you're a Star Trek and Star Wars fan, then go download the game. It's available in the App Store and for Google and iOS using the link in the description. And playing it for a little bit of time really supports me and the channel as a whole, and allows me to keep creating these videos, and allows me to keep streaming. So if you wish to support me and are looking for a new game to get into, then click the link in the description and download it. Thank you for Star Trek Deep Space Nine for sponsoring the video. Now let's get to it. Hello everyone, Wacky Player here, and I was writing a script and thinking about this idea on my own free time after stream, and I was thinking of putting it into a very highly edited video, which I want to do, but I kind of want to get the initial concept out there and get people's feedback on it. And what it is a problem I have in Galaxy of Heroes. And that problem is that I want to be able to use every bounty hunter with a good bounty hunter team. So not putting them just with scoundrels. I want to be able to utilize their whole kit so that they can have a bounty hunter contract and get their own payout. And I want it to make sense and have synergy and not just throw a bunch of leftover units, right? The issue is that if I do that, what ends up happening is I can make 3 solid bounty hunter teams, and I end up with Aurra Sing and Cad Bane left over, right? And the synopsis of this video is basically, I think I found a solution to that using 2 scoundrel units to plug and play in certain teams. And I think it's actually better because I can actually use Bossk on defense, and it would make a lot more sense. Because usually you are using Bossk or Aurra Sing lead. You're choosing between the two, and if you go Aurra Sing lead, you're always taking Bossk as a tank, basically. So you're basically deciding, okay, will it be easier for me to attack the weakest target 10 times, damage them 10 times? So really fast with Fennec, if they don't have any taunts, super easy to do. Or am I going to be faster than them and they have a taunt, let's say a Kylo Ren Unmasked? Will it be faster if I use Aurra Sing lead and just use 10 abilities? Can I get Mandalorian's payout done faster? Because those 2 leads are really based around the Mandalorian's payout, right? How fast can you get Disintegrate up to just one-shot somebody and then snowball after that? Aurra Sing's really good because you get turn meter after it. Bossk is really good because you're very tanky and your units can survive a long time. And with Fennec Shand, you can get the contract very fast if you can target that weakest unit, right? Almost I think in 1 assist, you can basically just get contract fulfilled with Fennec Shand. The problem is that you might think on this Bossk team, 2 a mass assist might not be the best thing, but Grief isn't just there for the mass assist. Grief also dispels debuffs with the Zeta on his special, his Uno card. His mass assist also dispels buffs. So if there's a taunt, and let's say Embo is pretty slow, as mine Embo is built for primarily just doing massive damage, then if you have Bossk, then Grief go. Grief can remove the taunt from the tank, and then Bossk can mass assist on the actual weakest target, and then you can get contract filled, and Mandalorian gets payout, right? So basically, that's the situation. And here's the thing. You don't have to use Embo here, right? You could put Cad Bane, Aurra Sing, Edge, any leftover bounty hunter you want, right? But because I want to use every bounty hunter, right? The thing is that Embo, this is an amazing place to put Embo because I don't have Jabba the Hutt, which is, it seems like people go Embo with Jabba, right? And if it's between Bausch lead or Bossk lead, which Bosch gives max protection increase, Bossk gives more max protection increase. And so I would rather just take him, and also Embo's basic dispels buffs. So if he assists from the Mandalorian or from Bossk, you can dispel buffs. You can dispel buffs if they gain buffs after Grief, dispels their buffs. And then he does massive damage with the percentage and 50% increase to his protection because his special deals damage based off protection. So it's really good, right? Now, the thing is that, yeah, if you're only building one or two bounty hunter teams. It's not a big deal if you know, can't use all of them, right? But because I'm me and I want to use all the bounty hunters because I really like the faction, and I'm struggling to put teams together, I have to figure out a way to make all of them work, right? So, like, yes, maybe this isn't a problem for most people, but for me, it's actually kind of getting to be a larger problem. And I wanted to kind of go through my other teams. So, like for Django, I really like this team because Jango Fett's contract is damage a debuffed enemy 20 times. Damage debuffed enemies 20 times, right? Damage a debuffed enemy 20 times, right? So if you debuff the whole enemy team, right, all 5 units, and you hit them with an AoE, that's a quarter of your contract fulfilled, right? So what this team does is you basically get Zam to go first, which is pretty easy because of her Omicron. I'm talking about in Grand Arena. Her Omicron gives percentage increased speed, protection, and offense based on bounty hunters, how many bounty hunters she has on her team. And then she's also getting you gain increase 60% to offense, max health, max protection, and Zam gets 5% speed for each other bounty hunter ally. And then other bounty hunter allies get 20% of Zam's current stats. And then you get a lot, you get 5% speed, so 25% in speed increase. And then you get plus 30 flat speed from Jango Fett. So you end up with a very fast team. And you can basically get Zam to go first. She throws out her thermal detonators, which are debuffs. So hopefully they all land on every target. They don't always have to, but I would say optimally every target gets a thermal detonator on them. Then you get Boba Fett or Django to go, use their AoE. Then you get Dengar, IG88 to go after them to use their AoE, and contract is fulfilled, right? And they're all super fast because they get Zam and Django's speed increase. And on top of that, if you get Django's Zeta on his lead, Boba Fett's going to do 35% increased damage. So that's a lot of damage on top of the increased offense from Zam. And Django gets increased offense from his payout, from the Bounty Hunter's Resolve, if you have the Zeta on the lead. So it's a really good team. It's a really, really good team. Dengar and Zam have synergy with thermal detonators and everything. So I really like it, right? I find it's a really good way for me to throw an IG88 into a Bounty Hunter team because it can be a little difficult, right? I feel like it's really good because I feel like the one downside of Django's contract has always been fulfilling it because everyone loves the lead, but fulfilling it is usually the hardest part. And this makes it a lot faster, and everyone gets bounty hunters resolve and critical chance. So it makes your units have a second, get a second life, unless they obviously someone executes them and they can't be revived. So it makes them tankier. Zam makes them tankier in general. So basically, it helps them not need a tank, right? Which is really hard because you really only have one flexible tank in the Bounty Hunter faction because Chrysanthemum's always going with Hawk Cartel. And speaking of Hawk Cartel, the other team I like to run is this Hawk Cartel team with Bausch lead, Chrysanthemum, Mob Enforcer, Greedo, and Skiffguard. Basically, Bausch, Chrysanthemum, and Skiffguard are necessities in this team. You're always taking them. Mob Enforcer, you could sub out for a different unit if you wanted to. I really like Mob Enforcer because not only does she get increased speed and protection for Hawk Cartel allies, which could be really helpful for her going fast, but she also has a thermal detonator to damage, basically, to detonate all thermal detonators on one target, which is a big deal because for Bausch's lead, you need to kill a target with thermal detonators. So let's say Bausch went and you couldn't use her special to detonate all thermal detonators because if there wasn't enough. A few turns later, maybe Mob Enforcer goes after her, maybe one or two more thermal detonators are applied, and then boom, now it's enough. Mob Enforcer can throw her thermal detonator and takes a bonus turn. So it's a way to help secure that contract, and it gives me more control over how the flow of the fight and how it's being played. And on top of that, what people I think are underestimating is her basic maxed out. So if the HUD, if let me read this to you. If the ally in the leader slot is Hawk Cartel and the target already had defense down, then you inflict Daze, Expose, and Vulnerable for 2 turns. That's her level 8 Omega ability for her basic. And the thing is that you think, okay, so how do you inflict defense down? She inflicts it on her basic, Mob Enforcer, that is. So then I guess you have to have her attack twice? No, because Bausch actually inflicts defense down for 2 turns if the leader is Bounty Hunter, which is her. She's a leader. She's Bounty Hunter. And If it's Bausch's turn, the leader in the ally slot is Smuggler. She's not Smuggler, sadly, so that's Jabba. But she inflicts defense down. So if you have Bausch go first, and then target has defense down that you're trying to apply thermal detonators to, then you have Mob Enforcer go, auto, basic. Okay. Expose, vulnerable is being inflicted, daze, and they already have defense down, right? So they're going to take max health damage from expose. They're going to get crit from vulnerable. And what happens when you target a unit with a Huck as a Huck Cartel with that when they have a deadly bluff on them? Oh yeah, Bausch assists. So now Bausch is going to immediately proc that expose and vulnerable. I think it's really good. It's very nice against tanks because I find that the Huck Cartel team can do fairly well against tanks because you can kind of just focus them, build up a bunch of thermal detonators on them, and just like instantly kill them, you know? Deals a good amount of max health damage. I really like it. So I'd like to take Mob Enforcer with this team. Then that kind of leaves me with one spot open, right? And I put Greedo here because initially I was just thinking, hey, thermal detonators, right? And I was like, well, that's some synergy, so I guess it makes sense, right? And then with that, I'm left over with 2 bounty hunters. Not really enough to make a team out of. If I do Aurra Sing's lead and I throw a bunch of random scoundrels with, I'm never really going to get contract fulfilled. But at least my other scoundrels like Cara Dune could go stealth and do increased damage, right? If I do Cad Bane, I have more potency in Aurra and Cad Bane, but is that really going to help? You know, I'm not getting the full utilization of their kit. It feels lackluster. So I'm just kind of have these leftover junk, you know, in a team that doesn't really fit. And it really bothered me ever since I started playing this game. And so I thought of a way to fix that. So my solution, which is experimental and I need to get your guys' take on it, is weird because it's using Aurra Sing without Bossk. It's replacing Bossk in the Aurra Sing team and another unit. I'll talk about Greedo with Stormtrooper Han, right? So my thinking is that, okay, with Bossk lead, the big issue is you're bringing him so that he gets Frenzy, which allows him to take a bonus turn after an ally uses a special ability, right? That's what Frenzy is. I guess it doesn't tell you what Frenzy is, but that's what the Frenzy buff does. So then you get him to go, and then he uses another ability, Mass Assist, and you can get Aurra Sing contract, right? One of the issues I have with Aurra Sing Bossk lead is actually getting stunned on Bossk, and then you don't have that ability, right? So now contract's actually going to be a lot slower, and you're not going to get it off in the first Mandalorian turn because the whole deal with Aurra Sing lead is getting the Mandalorian's contract fulfilled as fast as possible, and you do it if it's going to be faster than Bossk's, right? So my thinking is that okay, let's find an alternative where we don't have to rely so much on having Bossk and that Aurra Sing team, and maybe put Bossk on a different team that maybe we could put on defense, hypothetically, right? So with Stormtrooper Han, right? He's a scoundrel, right? Okay, that's cool. Some synergy, I guess, because he can do damage, increase damage if he's stealthed. He's not going to get stealth, so it doesn't matter, right? The thing is that with his draw fire and his bluff, you basically feed turn meter to your allies and remove turn meter from the enemies. So let's say that Stormtrooper Han doesn't get taunted or doesn't get stunned and is able to taunt, right? Your allies gained 30% turn meter, right? So that's a good amount. Almost a third of your turn meter is just filled up. They probably already have some of it filled up because, you know, Aurra Sing gets 20%, Mandalorian gives turn meter when he crits, blah, blah, blah. And then whenever he's damaged, and remember, your allies are stealthed probably, so they can really only target him unless they have the, you know, stealth removal. Allies gain 20% turn meter whenever Han's damaged while taunting. So if a mass assist happens and, you know, Han hopefully survives it, you get 100% turn meter on all 4 of your bounty hunter allies. And if you have them modded the speed correctly, that allows you to basically get contracts super fast. So basically the point is that yes, Stormtrooper Han won't allow you to get Mandalorian contracts fulfilled on the first turn, but it will get you to that second turn faster, right? So also if he's let's say your tank gets stunned, right? And that was the big issue with Bossk lead that I was talking about, where it really slows you down and it's a big issue. If you have, if you get Han stunned, what happens is, whenever let me read this last part of his unique bluff. In addition, Han has a 25% chance to remove 10% turn meter from each enemy when he is damaged. So that means that you basically slow down the enemy and speed up your team to get their second turn faster. So even if he's stunned, it's still going to be really helpful. Yes, you don't get that first ability used on Bosk initially, right? But the good news is you don't have to have a tank that's built for speed to go first. You can have a tank that's built to just be super tanky, right? And take a bunch of damage. And on top of that, with Stormtrooper Han Zeta, whenever he takes damage, he recovers 5% protection. So if you mod him just for a lot of protection, then he can be pretty tanky. And basically, hopefully, you just need him to survive long enough, right? On top of that, does this heal? No, it doesn't. It only heals bounty hunters. But so there's a little bit of protection recovery there, which is good. And then the reason I put Greedo here was because I was going to put Cad Bane, but Cad Bane's a support tag, so he's not going to be stealth because it's just bounty hunter attackers are stealthed, but also Greef just gets stealth at the beginning of combat with his unique. So if I put Cad Bane here, they could target Cad Bane, not Stormtrooper Han, and kill him, and it would be harder to get contract fulfilled because you need to be buffed while using an ability to fulfill Aura's contract. So it was between that and Embo, and I wanted to keep Embo with Bosk or Bausch because I wanted to keep all the AoE units with Django. So Greedo was just I was like, all right, I guess I got to put Greedo here, which sucks. But then I was like, wait a second. Greedo has an ability where, without the Zeta, you don't even need the Zeta on this ability. He removes turn meter based on how much critical chance he has. So that's something you can control. And then he gains that amount of turn meter that he took away. So if you have like 80% crit chance, because I have 77, let's say target has 40% of their turn meter, you get 40% of their turn meter on Greedo, right? And then you also get, if you get Mando to basic, then you get some of that turn meter onto Greedo with the Zeta that I just applied recently. So then he's going to get 15% turn meter from that. So now he's at 65%. And like hypothetically, if Greef goes, and you sweeten the deal, well, he probably wouldn't because he would have used assist, right? But hypothetically, let's say Stormtrooper Han goes last, right? And then taunts. And then we are looking at 70% turn meter, right? I think about 70%, maybe 75, Stormtrooper Han, maybe one more turn, Greedo can go again, basically. If Stormtrooper's Han hit, he goes again, right? So it allows you to use abilities, it really just basically pushes his turn faster, second turn, so you can get that ability contract fulfilled. So basically, this team is all about funneling and manipulating turn meter of your allies because also Aurra Sing. It's windy out. I don't know what that was. Aurra Sing also gains turn meter off of her basic if the target was debuffed, which shouldn't be too hard to do because you could use. The target really wouldn't be debuffed actually based on this. That's what's nice about Boss Lead. But you have to give sacrifices if you want to use all the bounty hunters in 4 teams and not have any left over in junk teams. And so what that means is Bosk is left without Mandalorian and Greef, and without those are the two. So the thing is, what if we focused on, instead of fast contract, what if we focused on tanky team and and damage off of protection, right? So what I did here was I kept Fennec in because I think Fennec is just really good with Bosk no matter what, because Fennec can proc his contract really fast. So even if it's not as necessary, his contract is, you always want to get contract as using bounty hunters, and his contract is you get 50 speed for the rest of the battle. So that's like nuts. That's really good, right? And I put Zam in there to increase the protection of all the units, so Embo does more damage. So Fennec, I said about Fennec there. So your team's gonna be super tanky, do a lot of damage with Embo and Zam. You know, Zam's gonna buff you up and everything, give you offense and whatnot. And then Cad Bane is going to actually hold on. I think that let me see. No, no, no. I was seeing if it was if the max protection was based off of which specific unit it is, because you gain protection based on each scoundrel tank ally, and you gain health off of support allies, and Cad Bane's a support, so you get max health. But with the Omicron, I just think it's flat 60%. Um, but with Cad Bane, actually has pretty high base protection, higher than Garrido and Aura Singh, which were the other two that I was thinking of putting in here. So you have that, which is working. Then one of the things that really hurts Bosk's lead is taunts, so you can't target the weakest ally. So now you have Embo and Cad Bane to remove taunts. You have two different ways to remove taunt. You don't have to waste a mass assist, right, on a unit that you might have not wanted to, which would be Grief's mass assist. And then Cad Bane also recovers protection when he inflicts a debuff, which is really nice. And on top of that, Cad Bane can attack twice. I think it's if the target was debuffed, or it might be random. 65% chance to attack again, right? And if that happens, then that's another damage sort, because that counts as two hits of damage to fulfill boss contract. So there's some synergy there, right? There's enough that makes it worthwhile, I think, to put him in, right? So that's the second team where we move units around and we're kind of changing our philosophy of how we use the units and everything, right? Focusing on, if we're don't really focus on using Aura Singh lead with the Mandalorian, and focus probably on maybe putting Bossk on defense with this lineup to be super tanky, maybe kind of create an unstoppable wall, right? Because I mean, if you have Bossk on defense and you put the Mandalorian there, it's gonna be difficult, because I mean, you want to bring the Mandalorian on offense because you want to target a specific unit, and what's the odds that the computer is going to target the right unit, right? They need to disintegrate them with. So then we have our Django team, right? 4 units are the same, but what about Nute Gunray? What is this? What's happening over here, right? So here's the thing: Nute Gunray is a scoundrel, so he's going to get 30 bonus 30 speed, which will be important about turn meter. His base speed gear 13 is about 170, I think. So you can get up to 208 speed, basically. Pretty good. I think it's 178 actually, right? The thing about him is that if you get him to go first, he's gonna grant extortion to a target enemy, right? And then inflict speed down to all enemies for 2 turns. And again, yes, yes, it can be resisted. It's not gonna impossible to resist. Same with Zam's thermal detonators. It can be resisted, but hopefully you're modding him for speed and potency, and hopefully you can get him first, which should be fairly easy because you're getting plus 30 speed from Django lead, because that speed applies to all scoundrels. And then now you have all of them basically debuffed so that you can fulfill Django's contract fairly fast, right? But on top of that, boop, boop, boop. Is it here? Whenever a separatist ally inflicts a debuff, they also deal 5% max health damage to that enemy, which can't be evaded, right? And then extorted allies also lose speed and offense, so make you even faster, basically. Now, why is that separatist thing kind of good? Well, it's because Jango Fett is a separatist. So now Jango Fett's doing more max health damage off of this because because conflagration. I don't know why, but I can't say that. They lose 25 max health for each basic for debuffs they were suffering. So now they're losing another 5% on top of that. So yeah, it's some good synergy there, right? And this is all hypothetical. Like, I don't have the units to test it out. I've tested out the Stormtrooper Han or a team in, like, the Galactic Challenge. But that's why I'm kind of making this video, so I can kind of get your guys' thoughts on it, and maybe you guys can test these teams and these units together, right? But also Nute, such a weird name. Nute Gunray also has an assist, right? Dispel all buffs on target enemy and increase their cooldowns by 1. Really good, right? Good way to just remove taunt, remove, I don't know, some tenacity up that's going to be stopping you, whatever it is. And then if the target had extortion, which, remember, the first ability you're going to be using is extortion, right? To apply speed down to everyone. Then, and if you can apply it to a specific unit, even the tank, it would be fine to put it on the tank. Then you call Separatist allies to assist, dealing 30% less damage. So you call Jango Fett to assist, which is really, really nice. And then whenever you hit the target that has extortion, you just remove the cooldown of motivate by 1, which is nice, but not necessary. Just reading it, just making sure that I got everything that I was very important about that. But yeah, my idea with this team is that you have some synergy with Jango with a Separatist tag, giving him more max health damage, calling him to assist. But the main thing is that if you can get Nuke Gunray to go first, right? Because he gets plus 30 speed, so you're at like 208 speed base. And you probably have to put some pretty good mods on him because I imagine Jango Fett and Boba Fett are really fast, but hopefully, or maybe you make them slower and you get New Gunray to go first, right? Then what happens is you can apply debuffs to all the enemies. Even if it's just 4, it's going to speed up your contract so much. And then you could call like, Jango to assist when it's New Gunray's second turn. On a debuff on the extortion enemy. Hopefully they're all debuffed. So it's like it seems like it's pretty good, right? And it seems like there's enough synergy, and it seems like it's a good way to move Zam out of that team and put it with the Bosk team to make them tankier, right? So Zam's is gonna lose thermal detonator damage, but again, there's trade-offs, and I think this is the best way to use every bounty hunter efficiently, right? And so what about the last team? The last team is the core 3 Hawk Cartel team, plus Mob Enforcer, as I personally like using her there. And then I put Gamorrean Guard in there. Now, Gamorrean Guard's not going to be the best, right? But I'm putting him there because I'm using the other Hawk Cartel members, and I'm going to need to gear up and relic Gamorrean Guard for Jabba anyway. So while I do that, and then when I get Jabba, I'll push him out, right? So I can just have another Hawk Cartel ally there. He fills up the slot. That's really it. It's it's good, I guess, because he can get a taunt in, which is nice. I think allies lose tenacity. He gains max health for each Hawk Cartel ally. So yeah, he gets tanky, gets protection equal to max health. So yeah, he gets super tanky. There's a second taunt on your team. So if they dispel Chrysanthemums, now they have to target, Gamorrean Guard for a few turns. But really it's just there because he's Hawk Cartel, and the other Hawk Cartel members need a full team of Hawk Cartel to really work. And yeah, those are my builds. Those are my teams that I think can be alternative way to use every bounty hunter efficiently. Because the main issue was, as I was saying before, you were able to create 3 good teams, right? Because I'm also including Hawk Cartel as a bounty hunter team, even though it has 2 scoundrels, 3 scoundrels that aren't bounty hunters there, right? But I'm counting them as bounty hunter, right? Because they can take away a bounty hunter like Greedo from other teams. And then you're left over with 2 bounty hunters. But with this idea, you have 1 team that's full bounty hunters, and then you have 3 other teams that have 2 teams that have 4 bounty hunters and 1 scoundrel. And then you have a 1 team that's Hawk Cartel, which is just Hawk Cartel, with no bounty hunters taken away from it, which is actually really nice because it gives the flexibility to create the other teams. And the thing is that removing the bounty hunter usually makes it worse. The team's a lot worse because bounty hunters have a lot of synergy together, doing contract and everything. But actually, the Stormtrooper Han lead and Nuke Gunray might actually help the bounty hunters and might be a better use of these units actually. And what I want you guys to do is, if you have these units built like Nuke Gunray, Stormtrooper Han, the bounty hunters and stuff, try it out. Let me know how it is, because right now I can't do Stormtrooper Han as I'm focusing on my bounty hunter pilots and whatnot. But basically just some ideas on how to use the bounty hunter teams differently. And obviously this changes at higher levels of play. Obviously, when you start to face Lord Vader and whatnot, you're just bringing Fennec lead. It's just you're bringing Fennec, Grief, Mandalorian, and Beskar Armando. That's just what you're doing, right? So I understand that, but for my level of play and where I'm at right now and what I'm trying to do, it seems like this is a possible way to use all of the bounty hunters. And I think it, and I think I'm trying to basically work with this idea of using all of them And this is kind of my first iteration that I've felt comfortable with, where I'm like, yeah, I think these teams are good. Because on the Django team, I was thinking of putting in Moff Gideon, and then you would mod him crazy fast to be faster than Boba Fett, which my Boba Fett's like 288 speed, so that bumps up to like 308 or 3 something with Jango Fett lead or whatever. Um, but then he had to have like really good mods because he didn't get the speed bonus because he's not Scoundrel, New Gunray Scoundrel, so he got the speed bonus. And then he can apply that debuff to every enemy. So the obvious downsides like can be resisted versus Moff Gideon's can't be resisted, but I feel like it's a worthwhile trade. And then same with Stormtrooper Han. Yeah, not gonna get contract on Mando's first turn, but you'll get a second turn faster. So try it out. Leave a comment down below. Don't just rush to start gearing these units. This isn't me endorsing it. This is me theory crafting and figuring out a way to do it. And I want to hear from people that already have Newt and Stormtrooper Han and these other bounty hunters already built, just alternative teams, tried out. And I think yeah, thank you for watching. And I appreciate all the views and the likes from the last video. If you didn't check it out, go check out the Bounty Hunter tier list. And see you guys next time. Peace.